After tweaking just for a few minutes, I ended up with something like this. Hello and welcome to haQ. My name is Jakob, I'm your host, and you're watching a haQ episode. This is Poison 202 by developer Jim Pavloff. Now, Jim is a genius when it comes to sound design, and you can clearly tell from the sounds in here. If you're a The Prodigy fan like myself, and Jim Pavloff obviously, then you'll definitely recognize a lot of the presets in here. This synthesizer sounds absolutely brilliant. You can get some really gritty, nasty, bass-heavy sounds from Poison 202. Now, I want to begin by saying that Poison 202 doesn't have audio bus or audio unit support, nor does it have a proper virtual MIDI support. But Poison 202 does have in-app audio mode support. Now, you can connect hardware to this, and to talk to Poison through MIDI, I used an iRig MIDI 2, sending my MIDI notes from Cubasis into Poison 202. I've also done this setup with Fugue Machine. Now, I've talked to the developer and he is planning audio bus and audio unit support mode for the next version of Poison 202. But Jim, if you're watching this, then I would like to request that you put in support for virtual MIDI into Poison 202. Now, Poison 202 has got a very straightforward user interface, and I love the look of it. So you've got 4 main pages you go through for tweaking your sound. So let's start with the 2 oscillator pages. Now, all but 2 of the controls are individual controls. If you look down here, you've got a balance knob, and this sets the mix blend mode between oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. And this one stays the same no matter what page you're on. If you look to the right, you have the cross modulation section, which also houses a ring modulation mode and a sync mode. You've got 5 waveforms to choose from. For the square wave, you also have pulse width and pulse width modulation. And you also have a super saw with a mix and detune fader. Now, the next section is the pitch envelope, and I love when developers put this into their synthesizer, because this allows me to create bass drums and other jumpy sounds. Next, we have a filter with 5 filter modes, its own envelope generator. In the last square, we find the amplitude envelope. In the LFO section, you can find 2 LFOs. Both LFOs have 6 different types of waveforms and 3 modulation destinations: oscillator pitch, filter cutoff, and envelope amplitude. Now, both LFOs will affect both oscillators, but there are 2 differences. If you look down here, you can see a re-triggering mode for LFO 1, but on LFO 2, you can find a cross modulation. And it's actually a cross modulation between the LFOs, so you can get some really interesting results. Next, we have a sub noise section. The sub is basically just a sub-tone that you can add in. So you've got the volume level here, and then you can switch from 1 octave down or 2 octaves down. The noise mix knob sets the level for the noise. Now, the effects section houses 7 different types of effects, and they're split into 4 groups. So in the first 3 groups, you can only have 1 effect set. Now, you can have up to 4 effects on at the same time, and the on-off button turns on or turns off the entire effects section. Now, to actually adjust parameters inside the effects here, you simply choose which one of the effects you want to control. So the select button is right there. If I want to add a delay and control that, just simply tap this and adjust parameters. The last page is the patch page, you have the option of routing the signal flow chain in two ways. Parallel mode, meaning the oscillators, the filters, and the amplitude envelope running on their own channels. Or you can do it in serial mode. Here you also have the keyboard play modes, menu options for copying, renaming, or deleting presets. By the way, the save button is right there. Now, since Poison 202 is also velocity sensitive, you can use the velocity to control the filter or the amplitude. Next, you have modulation options for the modulation wheel, and I suggest you experiment with that. We also have an equalizer, and lastly, we have an output with a limiter. Now let's drop down over here. Poison 202 also incorporates an arpeggiator and a scale mode. Now to change settings for the arpeggiator and the scaling mode, you have to go into the settings page. Here you can find the usual settings, and here is also where you choose your MIDI devices. If we slide up, we have the section for the arpeggiator. Slide up furthermore, we've got the keyboard settings. And that's basically it. I love Poison 202. I think it sounds absolutely marvelous, and it's gonna be fun testing it out fully and seeing what kinds of sounds you can make. I do recommend Poison 202. The sounds in here are pretty awesome, and it's very straightforward getting off making your own sound in this synthesizer. Now, before you leave, I just want to say that Jim Pavloff is an awesome sound designer, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should really go to his channel and check out a few of his videos in where he's recreating some really famous Prodigy tracks. The guy is absolutely brilliant, and after viewing those videos, you'll probably understand why Poison sounds like it does. I'll put the links to Poison 202 down in the description, and I'll also put the link to Jim's channel and a few of his videos so you can go watch them for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. All comments and ratings are very much appreciated. Also, I've got my own Patreon now, so if you want to join up and support me in that way, then you're free to do so. The address is right here, and you can also find it down in the description. As usual, I wish you a very productive week. Now go finger all of your stuff and have a lot of fun doing it.